On today's podcast, we're joined by Mike Odabashian, who is Global Business Development at AIMS, which stands for AI Music Search. AIMS is a suite of AI-powered music search, discovery, and curation solutions. We discuss how AIMS ensures the accuracy and relevance of its recommendations across various music genres and styles, what sets AIMS apart from other search and recommendation systems, and how AIMS will adapt to the evolving landscape, the overwhelming volume and consumption of music coming out every day, and much, much more. You don't want to miss it. Insiders, are you ready?
Welcome to MUBUTV's Music Business Insider Podcast, where our mission is to educate, empower, and engage artists and music business professionals who are dedicated to having a successful career in the new music industry. Here are your hosts, Rich Ezra and Eric Knight. Welcome back, Insiders, to another episode of the MUBUTV Music Business Insider Podcast, where our mission is to educate, empower, and engage your music career. On today's podcast, we sit down with Mike Odabashian from AIMS. We discuss how his company's technology analyzes and makes accurate and relevant search recommendations, what sets AIMS apart from its competitors, and the security measures it has in place to protect user privacy.
Welcome back, Insiders. Today's guest is Mike Odabashian, who is Global Business Development at AIMS, which stands for AI Music Search. This was a very, very interesting conversation on the cutting edge of technology. You know, one of the things that vast amounts of libraries, vast amounts of music have a problem with is finding the right kind of identity of songs, tagging when you want something of a certain mood, certain beats, certain vibe, and this finds it for you. This is great kind of technology for vast amounts of music. So when you have libraries with literally hundreds of thousands of pieces of music, this can be a really, really great thing. It was an interesting topic to explore, especially around the aspect of AI, which is what this is all about. It is an AI technology that does this. For the search recommendation within music, for visual media, something that we had never explored before. So, in worlds of the past, the creative director at a library or creative director at a publishing company would have to know, within their own head, this particular song, this particular artist would be good.
Exactly.
And now,
this thing can integrate with the music library's catalog.
Every single song,
and can find it within seconds. And I think that's going to be a big game changer in the world that we're living in now, which is, everything is integrated with AI. So I think this is a really, really great tool.
Absolutely. And the whole thing of, you can have the integration of AIMS via API, which is, the benefits that it offers, clients who don't have their own search platforms. I mean, if you don't have your own website and place to search, you can use their system in order to do that. Or your whole catalog. If you have a catalog of 20,000 songs or 10,000 or a small one or even a really large one, that whole technology can work beautifully for it.
I love that he discussed that in one of the points that I think one of the clients, they hadn't realized that some of the music that they had in there, they had rediscovered because they had so many songs in their catalog that they had forgotten some of the stuff that they had the rights to. And I believe when the AI was integrated into their platform, they dug up some of these gems of songs that ended up making placements for them. So I think in that realm, it's going to be a great financial windfall for these companies that may have not been using or underutilizing certain titles that they didn't realize that they had access to that now can breathe new life with placements.
Absolutely, without question. One of our guests, I was reading the other day that one of our guests, the lady that did the technology that separated tracks.
Yes. I forget her name now. It escapes me, but
yes, that they just landed a deal with Disney.
Wow.
To take on all of the Disney catalog and music publishing and all of those great classic iconic songs and to be able to totally repurpose them.
Right.
That's going to be fascinating.
And I think that's one of the benefits where the good part of AI comes into place. So with that, Insiders, sit back, relax, and enjoy our featured conversation with Mike Odabashian.
Mike, welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Your company, AIMS, is a cutting-edge AI recommendation technology. Can you tell us about it?
Sure. AIMS stands for Artificial Intelligent Music Search, right? So basically, we work with copyright holders, anybody that's aggregating a lot of music in one place, and we make it the most discoverable it can be. So basically, the biggest problem, I think, globally is the problem with metadata searching and using keywords to find music. So it's usually when people are aggregating a lot of audio in one place, the metadata is not accurate, right? So there could be good metadata in a part of it, bad metadata in another part of it. So our co-founders wanted to solve the problem of music search. So they developed an algorithm that allows you to, the first product that we came out with, which is similarity search, to use audio as a reference track. So basically, as reference, I should say. So you can put in a piece of audio from any music platform. It'll search all of your catalog in seconds, and then it gives you all of the results in descending order. So basically, it's super accurate. It searches every single thing as opposed to maybe inaccurate metadata. And with metadata, it only turns things on that it has metadata that's attached to it. So like, you could conceivably miss the best possible thing that you're looking for because it just doesn't have like male vocal on it, or it doesn't have guitar. And it could be the best possible match to try to create something for a TV show. You know, broadcasters use us, so they could be potentially missing the best possible music for a show, or a sync and licensing agency or publisher that's looking for something for a brief. They could miss the potential of having the best possible match and music match. So we've kind of solved that problem. And then we've obviously developed a ton of features that kind of have made the product explode. And like, we're being used by all like the biggest production music libraries in the world right now. Universal, Warner Chappell, BMG, APM, 5 Alarm, the list goes on and on. But now broadcasters are starting to use us for their whole sync and licensing, music curation team. So basically, anybody that needs to find music, we can help superpower their catalogs, basically. So. Okay. I hope that answers the question.
No, great.
Yeah, and it's kind of touching on this with the next question, and thank you for joining us, Mike. How does AIMS utilize the AI technology to accurately analyze and recommend music tracks without relying on traditional metadata? You kind of touched on it a little bit.
Sure. So it doesn't map any metadata, right? So like, just take metadata out of the equation, right? We analyze audio using a spectrogram, and it creates kind of like the algorithm creates something that's going to find the best vibe and feel to the reference track, right? So not to get into too much of the secret sauce or get too technical beyond my scope, but it basically creates kind of like not a fingerprint, but an identity to the reference track. And then we've already analyzed all of the existing tracks in the catalog. So it basically is matching up vector points based on that. And the algorithm is to find the best vibe and feel to the reference track, which is what everybody wants, right? They want the best vibe and feel to what they're looking for. And it was specifically built for the music supervisor in mind, which we're all music supervisors, right? We're all trying to find stuff that we like or something that's similar to something. So, so that's kind of like how the tech works, and it's a lot more complicated than that. That's right. Well beyond my technical scope, and I'll leave it to the experts at AIMS for that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, then let me ask, if you can address this, how does AIMS ensure the accuracy and relevance of its recommendations across various genres and styles?
That's a good question, and basically because it's analyzing the audio and the waveform, there's obviously 1,000 different parameters, right? And we've done hundreds of millions so like, it's machine learning, so it's not learning on its own, where it's not like, you're going to give it's not like a plant, you add water to it and it's just going to grow. We train it. So we've trained it on hundreds of millions of tracks. We have like a research team that like is working on that every single day to refine those results. And we're, it's hard to, I guess, hit every single genre perfectly, but like, we've hit it on so many different tracks, and our data set was so large that's how we're able to really guarantee the accuracy. But, we let people make that decision. We do testing for free. We will ingest somebody's catalog. make a UI experience for them, and we just let them go at it with their particular catalog. And again, we've started with production music, but we have commercial label clients as well. Big Machine is one of them. That is a little bit different than production music, right? It's a higher value like music, and they love the results. They love what they're getting, and they're finding super accurate results. So, I guess there's no guarantees in life, but we just have so many live clients that are really enjoying the experience and getting the value from it. We're making them more accurate, we're making them faster, move faster, and really creating and removing that heavy lift from, having to find music. Because it's like, I feel like there's like an 11th hour mentality in this industry as a whole, right? Everybody's like working against the clock. So how can we remove a lot of the heavy lift so they're just like fine-tuning and curating music, right? Listening, picking music. We're just removing that initial heavy lift from them. And then it's really about the human, because it is subjective. Right? Like at the end of the day, what you like and what you like and what you like is different than what I like. And that's where, we're just a tool. It's still reliant on the music supervisor to make that end decision. And it's still very personal. We're just trying to remove the heavy lift from them. So hope that answers the question.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you touched on this a little bit, but I'm curious, what sets AIMS apart from other search and recommendation systems in the music industry, particularly in terms of speed and ease of use? You've kind of talked about it with the data sets that you were...
Well, we've started developing, we're like one of the first in the space, I think we are the very first to really kind of like build a business around just search and discovery technology. And I think what sets us apart is definitely our two co-founders, are both, two of the co-founders are both from the production music world. Martin Nedved, he owns Studio Fontana, and Einar Helde, he owns APL Publishing. So they really understand the pain point. So they got with Victor Parma, who's another co-founder, who's really the genius behind the algorithm, to really develop something that's going to solve the pain point of music search based on a music supervisor's lens, right? They know the space, they know the pain points. So I think that's what sets us apart. We really know the space. We really know the pain points, and to build something around that first for that sync and licensing kind of vertical is, I think, what sets us apart. But, we're constantly fine tuning it. We have a team of almost 40 people just working on this. I always make a joke, we're like a pop-up hot chicken stand. We make the best hot chicken you'll ever eat. But we just do one thing, and we're not trying to do a million things. We just want to just do one thing and one thing well. And it takes a team to do that. That's why everybody's using us, and we're become like the standard in production music. But now we have broadcasters, we have streaming services, we have distributors using us, and the verticals kind of keep growing.
So the use cases have developed.
Yeah,
and
because
evolved.
more people need it.
Right.
And it's interesting because people are expecting these tools now. They're not like wanting it, or it's not like a wish list thing, or it's a nice to have. The client experience, they want it. They need it, and they want to work fast. And like platform engagement is a important thing. Like, if you can't keep somebody on your platform, they're going to go someplace else. Like if it's cumbersome to try to find something, it's not a selling point. So like technology has become the necessity now. And these tools are becoming more. That's why we're starting to see more competition, right? We're starting to see people's like, okay, there's space for more than just AIMS. But we've been in it the earliest. I think with our newest offering, Prompt Search, we started developing that a year ago, which is a natural language search. So now you can put in like flying over a mountain in a helicopter, drinking a Budweiser, and it'll analyze that copy. It'll search all the tracks and give you results based on that copy without any text.
Wow, so it's an LMS like Gemini or OpenAI or...
Yeah, exactly. So based on that. And we have our own proprietary technology in there that we're using. So we've developed that, and we've been working on that for over a year. So like we were a year ahead, I think, in this space, and we have a bunch of live clients. Like all of our existing clients are either testing it or live with it now and using it. And some just new clients, like microsite licensing clients that are like, they don't even want anything else but this, because this is the quickest way for people to get to the music. Especially the social media creators, these people that they want something quick. I need something with a certain vibe. They want to type in some copy that they're thinking in their mind. They're not really music people, right? They're just like, they're they're just trying to find us. They're describing their scene. Oh, I'm going to hit this guy in the face with a pie. Okay, what do we have music that'll fit that?
Right.
Stuff like that.
It's
you know?
the immediacy.
It's amazing, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
You know, I want to ask you, how does AIMS, let me start that again. Mm-hmm. How does AIMS address potential challenges or biases in its AI algorithm to assure the most accurate recommendations? Is there something that can address that, or does that occur?
it's pretty, there is really, there's no biases per se, because at the end of the day, it's an algorithm built on 1,000 different parameters, right? So like production is a part of the algorithm. BPM is part of the algorithm. Vocal melody is part of the algorithm, right? So we're just creating, it's not an agnostic algorithm, right? It's not like just, but it's going to be something that is going to give you the least amount of bias in the search results, because it's just analyzing audio, it's comparing the audio that it's analyzed already, and matching up vector points based on a spectrogram analysis. So I can only go by what our clients tell us. It's the most accurate in the space. Like, they're always finding stuff that they didn't know or think of, because it's hard to, and I think I've heard this a few times too, like, I mean, I think people, I only really know about 1% of their catalog, anything over like 10,000 tracks. So what we're finding is that they're discovering things that they didn't know they had, right? If you have 20,000 tracks, like, oh, I didn't know we had lo-fi hip-hop, or I never would have picked this version of this song, but based on our algorithm, it's just giving you a pecking order of like, this is the best match based on our algorithm. So it's giving it like a non-biased kind of approach to it, where it's just giving you descending order of like the best matches to the worst, and then it's really about them kind of picking it. But they're always finding something they never thought of. And sometimes they're like, yeah, I would have thought of that. I would have thought of that, but 2 and 3, I've like never would have thought of that. So that's kind of like how I guess that's subjective too with the listener. You know, like,
sure, right.
One person might be like, oh man, you guys always pick this certain type of, maybe every time I put in this search, I feel like it's giving me this type of music, but then somebody else be like, these are great.
Yeah.
You know, and everywhere in between. But the consensus from all of our live clients, and we have hundreds of users, it's like everybody's like, this is saving me time. This is getting me over this heavy lift of keyword searching and reliance on inaccurate metadata. And it's basically finding me the gems in my catalog, and some small catalogs, 5,000 tracks or less, it's making them feel bigger, you know? Or the massive catalogs are like, it's a discovery thing. You know, I'm finding things that I didn't even know we have, you know, so.
Exactly.
And it's an interesting segue to my next question. Can you discuss the process of integrating AIMS via API and the benefits it offers to clients who may not have their own search platforms?
Sure, yeah. The nice thing about us being API integratable is that basically any platform, we can just basically superpower the back end of their platform. So it's very, very easy for us, and it doesn't take a ton of implementation or coding. The biggest, heaviest lift is the front-end development for some of the platforms, because they might need to develop some of the aesthetics for the technology to work, but the back-end technology where, you know, like we can superpower somebody's search bar and give them the ability to pull in reference audio from any music platform with a very small amount of code. Like just right from the get-go.
Wow.
Like it can be something that I could turn around in like one day for them.
Right.
You know, we can make a demo for somebody in 24 hours. They could have hundreds of thousands of tracks. They give us access to an S3 bucket or maybe an export from one of the other music platforms, and then we can basically give them a demo experience in our UI, or we can enable our technology in one of the integrations that we have with Source Audio, with Sync Tank, with Harvest Media, or Cadenza Box, and that's basically a light switch. They already have their tracks there. Hey, we want to test AIMS, we turn it on for them, and it's like super easy. But the integration is very, very simple, and our dev team works hand in hand with whatever platform that we want to enable this stuff on. So it's like we can have somebody live in a few days.
Yes, and
all of it.
Yeah, and what I think is going to be a game changing is companies like, you think like a Warner Chappell that's got hundreds of thousands of
They're our client.
They're your client. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. But that they're making discovery things that that the AI is turning back to them. Go, my God, we never even did we have
Knew
this?
we had
Yeah,
this at all,
yeah.
Yeah, they've been a client of ours at Warner Chappell on the production music side, and they've been a client of ours for quite some time, and they're constantly saying that they're finding the gems in their catalog because it's so vast.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like a vast landscape of undiscoverability, and it's just everybody's finding stuff that they didn't know they had.
Based on that, then, because it sort of gives me this idea of how do you at Ames keep up with the volume of new, fresh music that's constantly coming out that has all the things that you may need, the metadata, on an everyday basis, from labels, from companies, or is it company specific, like you're just dealing with Warner Chappell stuff, and that's it? So it's got to be an individual thing?
Exactly.
Are they feeding you, the clients that you have, are they feeding you the fresh new stuff that they have every day?
It's all based through the APIs. So basically, as they ingest into whatever platform they're on, it automatically gets analyzed by Ames.
Okay.
So it's like, it's automatically discoverable. And that's another thing too, like, if you think about how it was done in the past, somebody would ingest maybe like 2,000 tracks. First thing they'd be like, well, we have to tag all this. Could be a month or two. Now it's like they can just ingest that stuff, we analyze it, it's automatically discoverable within the same day, which is kind of like unheard of. And then the metadata, they can kind of backfill that as needed. Again, metadata is still important if it's done right. And if it's done right, if
that's
it's
the key.
Accurate, then you use it in a filtering sense, you know what I mean? So you can search with audio, search with a prompt search, and then if the metadata is really accurate, then it's a value add. And sometimes, just like with our tech, we can have like filters with all the metadata. So sometimes it's like filtering out, I can't have anything that was released earlier than 2017. Could be as simple as that. And that's pretty easy to add as a filter, but we can do that. Maybe it's a label code, maybe it's a publisher, maybe it's an artist. And then with the creative metadata, we can add those as filters as well. So like maybe, if I'm searching for a Dua Lipa song, I get all the search results, I do some other maybe artist recommendations. Okay, I have a bank of songs. I wonder what I have for male vocals. And I can just hit that metadata filter, and then it gives me all the male vocalists that might fit in that vibe or feel. So but the metadata has to be right. And we feel at Ames that prompt search will be the way everybody's searching, and eventually, down the road, maybe not make it completely obsolete, but very inconsequential as far as search goes, because it's going to get better and better and better. And we've only had it live for about 3 months, and it's already getting better. And it's like...
That's great.
Yeah, so...
I wanted to ask you, are there any security measures that you guys take to ensure that the users protect user privacy and ensure the security of the data it analyzes during the recommendation process?
There's always NDAs in place, obviously, with all of our copyright holders, but because our technology is only enabled on very secure platforms, whether, Universal is one of our clients, and we enabled our technology on their search platform, so they have a litany of security measures. So again, between the two, it's very, very safe. And we actually don't take the MP3s or the WAV files, right? We analyze it and we keep that data, and that's how we match it up. So there's really no security issues. So yeah, it has never been a problem with any of our, and we have some of the biggest clients in there. But obviously privacy and people's intellectual property is very important to us. We don't want to put anybody in a position, we don't share information. So, and if you've seen some of the NDAs that I've seen, they're like pretty thorough.
Yeah.
These guys are pretty thorough. They definitely want to protect their intellectual property and the rights of artists, and I think like our mission is to respect music heritage, right?
Yeah.
We'll never get in the generative music realm. We don't want to. We think there's enough music out there. There's enough stuff. There is hundreds of millions, billions of tracks, and we just want to make it discoverable. Like, we just want to make artists more discoverable wherever their music might lie down, wherever it's going to sit. If they have Ames, we know that they have a really good shot of being discovered by a music supervisor, maybe an artist manager, anybody, as long as they have Ames tech, they're going to be the most discoverable. And that's kind of like whole mission statement. And me I'm a pro drummer, pro musician, I've toured all over the world. I love that mission, and that is very close to me, I don't believe in generative music, although I think it's a tool. I think we could talk about that that could be a whole nother segment. But generative music, I think it's here, and I think it's something that's going to be used ethically as a tool. I don't think people are going to go to see like fake artists in concert, right? They're going to be going to see the guy that may have used some generative to make a string line on his song. That's what I think.
But what's interesting about what you're saying is that they are willing to go to holograms. They are willing to show up.
But like Michael Jackson, though, right?
Yeah, Michael Jackson or Whitney Houston are famous people. The one coming now is the Amy Winehouse one will be touring soon. And it is interesting because I think a certain generation won't do that. But people today are willing to do that. The Whitney Houston one that's going out has real live musicians, but does not have but the singer will never be tired, will never hit a bad note, will never. Perfect. But they're really playing.
Yeah.
So it is interesting when we look at that in terms of time and involvement. I want to sort of shift gears here and ask you a personal question. Growing up, throughout your career, let's say, have there been any movies or books that have really inspired you, professionally speaking, that you could recommend to our audience?
Oh, boy.
Any that come to mind that you just loved?
I'm trying to think. Well, that's a good question. There's a book about tennis. It's called The Art of Tennis. It's a very famous book, but it's about deliberate practicing and like really about, and I think being a musician, I have to always kind of go back to that.
Yeah.
About, respecting your craft, about taking the time to learning the fundamentals, about deliberate practice and being authentic to that practice. I think that was something that like really inspired me. It was a book about tennis that was recommended by the drum master, David Elich, who has played with everybody. And I read that, and that was pretty inspiring. And I can't remember the name of the title, though, but it's very famous. But it's you think it's a book about practicing, but it's a book about, like, really respecting the heritage of whatever you're doing and, like, respecting, like, the art of, like, shedding and doing the right thing, but building a foundation the right way. You're, not, like, skipping any steps.
Putting in the 10,000 hours.
Put the 10,000 hours in, respecting the heritage of whatever you're in, and don't skip any steps. I think the people that are the most successful are the ones that did all the dirty work, all of the tough stuff, and then they're at a place where they are masters of what they do. So I think, what you know what the book is?
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to I can't find it.
It's okay.
It's okay.
We'll find it. We'll research it and we'll find it.
We'll
put it on the show notes.
It's a fascinating book, but it can really translate to any discipline, And I think it's like, I can only relate it to music, but being disciplined in whatever you do, whether it's like if you're in sales, if you're a plumber, if you're whatever discipline you're in, if you do the right things and follow the steps and go plow through all the hard stuff, when you're in a place of success, people will admire that, but you'll be able to really show what you can do at the highest level. So, yeah.
It's interesting you use that word because I think, and I've thought about this a lot, I think discipline, and those who I've known in my life professionally and personally who have a lot of discipline for something like what you were referring to, have a lot of passion for what it is that they're doing, that they have the discipline in. I don't know anyone who has discipline for something they don't give a shit about. That's almost like a human contradiction. It's really hard to like have discipline, which is commitment and for something that you just don't give a shit about. I mean, it's so I think that's a part of it.
It's funny because follow your dreams and always like unabashedly try to do what you do that you love doing the most and do the best at and follow it all the way. But I have like a lot of friends that have like 4 kids, and it's just like, I'm a plumber. I don't love fixing a toilet, but I love the fact that my kid's going to go to college.
Sure.
And that I can
That's what's more important.
Right. So like I think it's it's all perspective there, right? I think it's different for every situation, but like if you're passionate, like if you're really passionate about music, and you want to be really good at it, it's a lot of sucking. Yeah. You have to suck for a long time before you really, and it's a lot of like negativity, and it's a lot of like, I'm never as good as the guy next to me, but if I keep going and keep going, I just can't believe I still do it. Like 40 years later, almost, I started when I was like 10, and I'm still doing it and I'm still playing professionally, but then I'm segued into music technology, which I love.
Yeah.
I love meeting people like you guys. I love being at Musexpo and meeting musicians and people in music from all different verticals. It's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting what you were saying. I remember once there was an interview with Daniel Day-Lewis, who's probably one of the greatest actors of our era. Agreed. And they asked him that question, you're so well known for living in character when you're making a film. And, the interviewer said, it's just so strange. Like, why do you feel the need to do that? I mean, you're such a good actor. And his response I will never forget. He said, I don't think I'm a good enough actor not to do that. Yes. And I was like, Daniel Day-Lewis saying, it's like, wow, that was an inspiration
just
to
drop the mic right there.
Yeah, it's like one of those things that you're talking about, like that's the real passionate commitment. You look at like people like Eddie Van Halen who would practice 6-7 hours a day when they were world famous.
Because he respected, it takes a lot of physical facility, right, to be on his level. And I'm a drummer, right, percussionist. I have a degree in classical percussion, but I have to, if I want to keep playing the drums, I have to do it on a consistent basis, or the physical facility won't be there.
You lose that, yeah.
It's like the old saying, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. But it's like, you really, especially to play like that, to play like him.
Oh, God, at that level.
Yeah, I mean, and he played like that until like even when he was like really sick, he still was playing at a pretty high level, He didn't look great, but he's still shredding because he probably still practiced.
Yeah.
But that's an unwavering commitment, right? Which is so inspiring. Like, it's amazing, right? Like I think about that and it's super inspiring that a guy could get to that level, but his commitment to it is like no other. Yeah.
Mike, what advice can you offer to our listeners who are interested in getting into the tech space?
Come to Musexpo. Go to South by Southwest. Go to the Sync Summit. Go to Indie Week if you can get somebody to help you out with a ticket. Go to every single conference that you can think of and meet people that are in the space, and talk to them and see if they, maybe find a company that you think has an interesting mission, something that you're passionate about. There's something for a little bit of everybody, from touring to, what we do in search and discovery, to artist management. I mean, there's so many different technical aspects to it, but you have to go meet the people that are in it, right? I think that's like build your network. Come to Musexpo, shake hands with everybody. Go watch the panels. You can do as much as you can online. You can apply to any job, but if you go meet somebody and somebody knows that you're passionate about it, or you have a certain skill that you could bring to the table, that's the magic, right? I mean, if somebody knows, like, well, I met Mike at Musexpo, and he's has a lot of experience in this vertical, or maybe we'd want to bring him on the team. He seems like a really nice guy, and he seems like passionate about what we do. We should at least talk to him. That's the magic, Get out there and meet people. Go to all of the conferences. I mean, it's just like a lot of people, I think that like a lot of people aren't accessible, but they're super accessible. Think about this conference, like all of the people, if you're an artist, like you could meet a touring manager, you could meet at the highest level, not like some guy that says he's a touring manager because he books a VFW, in your hometown, but like, what I'm saying? Like you can meet somebody that's a legit touring manager, and maybe like they'll listen to your band. How the hell are you going to do that if you just email them cold? Not happening. So again, in any, music, and any aspect of music, go to where all the people are hanging out. Go meet people. Introduce them to yourself. Don't be shy. That's the thing about, literally, just introduced myself to somebody, and, they're a massive company that does a lot of things that aims, it was just like a hang. Hey man, what are you here for? I'm like, I'm dying from South by Southwest, but I think I may have seen you there. It's just meeting somebody, hanging, and just being yourself. Like, don't be like too artificial, let things happen organically, but go to everything. Go meet people. Move out of your small town. Don't stay in like the middle of Boise. Come to California, go to New York, or make trips there. I think, if you want to have a career in music, you're not going to do it in your tiny, small hometown unless you become viral in your bedroom on TikTok. And I could,
And then you'll be forced to tour.
And then you'll be forced to tour. Right. You'll end up in LA anyway.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think going to where the entertainment industry is at, finding a lane that you want to stick in, and that, you can find where the tastemakers are, right? Like, and just the right people. I think that's my best advice. Go and meet people. Don't be shy. You only live once. So cliche.
We want to thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Really, we really
Thanks
appreciate
so much,
it.
guys. I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to doing it again sometime. Yeah.
Absolutely. We would love to have you.
Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. What a timely conversation.
Absolutely.
Really, what a timely conversation. I mean, a lot of our conversations recently, Eric, have been around music and tech. And here's one that's, and especially AI.
AI, yeah.
And AI is leading the charge with this particular one. I mean, one of the things that I thought was so interesting in this conversation with Mike is how this will adapt to the evolving landscape and the enormous amount of new music coming out. You wonder, how do you even keep up with it? I mean,
Right.
if you were somebody in the past who followed music or the music business, I'm thinking 20, 30 years ago, you could do it. No one that I know of today can actually keep abreast of everything that's out. And these are the kinds of tools that really help with that particular problem.
Right. And like I said at the top of the show, that one of the great things that I think is coming from this technology is bigger companies like, let's say, Warner Chappell, for instance, probably got hundreds of thousands of songs in their catalog. A lot of these guys sometimes don't realize, because it's just too much information. It's like the overwhelm that we're getting every day in our lives. And what's happening is that this AI technology, through their API being integrated into their search engine, they can now dig up these new songs or older songs that they didn't realize that they had. And now it's like, breathing new life again into these songs that maybe were not being utilized before, and they didn't even realize that they had the rights to. So I think that that's another really interesting thing that's happening with this technology that's opening up the doors to old catalog, and like what you're saying, how to catalog the new music that's coming in, that it's just coming in at such a rapid pace.
Oh, without exception. And the other aspect that was very interesting too was the security measures that they're taking to ensure, the privacy of the user. Sometimes people don't want their information out there, what they're looking for. I can see the applications of that would be like an advertising agency. Well, how about if a competitor agency, they're looking at that, why don't we steal that, so how you can keep what's been searched for by whom very, very secure.
Well, I'm sure it's a GDPR thing too. If people are overseas that are looking, and there's big considerations with that, with privacy issues. So I also thought, his advice on getting into tech today is such a wide open landscape with so many opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and he spoke about that. He spoke about, those wanting to get into that particular world, how we are living in a time that is more open and has more opportunity than in any other time before. It's like the wild, wild west out there. And that makes it very, very exciting.
Hey, Insiders, thanks so much for tuning into this episode. We really appreciate it. To get show notes, links, and everything that was mentioned during this interview, head on over to our official website at MUBUTV.com/podcast/show notes. If you're enjoying the content and what we're doing here on the show, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts from. And don't forget to rate and review our show at iTunes. 5-star reviews are always welcome and help to ensure that our podcast stands out on the top-rated and new and noteworthy charts on iTunes and our space. You can also find us at social media at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter X, all ending with the handle MUBUTV, which is spelled MUBUTV. Don't forget to catch our flagship show, the MUBUTV Music Business Insider video series, airing every week on YouTube at youtube.com/MUBUTV. This show was produced and created by Rich Ezra and Eric Knight. Theme music by Disciples of Babylon, and be sure to tune in next week for another episode of the MUBUTV Music Business Insider Podcast.